Hello everyone and welcome to lesson 1 of week 2. My name is Mildred. In this lesson, we are going to look at what a command line interface is, and then we're going to do some demo on how to look at directory structure and the command line using our command line interface. Now, a command line interface is like a text-based interface that allows you to interact with your file system and also with your operating system. Now, if you're a Windows user, you have Windows PowerShell by default on your system, and if you're a Mac user, you have Terminal by default on your system. So you don't need to install anything, except for Windows users, you want to have a bash shell, and for that you can go to commander.app, cmder.app, to install a console emulator for Windows. We have free course titled Command Line Git and GitHub that starts in September, and I think registration opens on the 8th of September. It's free, lasts 6 weeks. This course is going to go into the details of command line, using the command line, writing various commands, going to look at Git for version control and also GitHub for our source code repository. But in this course, we'll just define what they are so that you know what exists. I'll advise you to enroll for the course when it opens, because it's going to help you with other advanced courses. Okay, a directory structure is like you have a folder, and in that folder you have other folders and other files. Sometimes maybe you have a document you have written or typed, you saved it somewhere on your computer. You want to retrieve these documents at a later time, and you need to know where on your file system this document is located, and that is the importance of understanding directory structure. You want to get one file that you have on your system. Is it on your desktop? Is it in a documents folder? Is it in a folder in the documents folder? Do you have them organized in different file structure? This understanding of directory structure is going to help you to quickly find your files, help you to organize your files properly, and also when we start writing our code and using programming languages, if you want to open a file, you need to be able to specify the correct path to that file, and the knowledge of directory structure helps us to do so. Alright, so when you look at the command line, it helps you to understand how to navigate from one directory to the other, how to change from one directory to the other. You need this skill as one of the basic skills you need to understand before you delve into software development, and you need to be able to understand how files are structured and why they are structured the way they are structured. So now we're going to change our screen and we're going to do some demos on command line and the directory structure. Let us now look at how we can use the command line or the command line interface to interact with the file system while looking at directory structure on the system. Now I've opened my terminal. This is on Mac. On Windows you have Windows PowerShell, or you download the console emulator that uses bash shell command to be able to follow. Now the home directory for Windows users is the C drive, C and then your username. So sometimes you have C/users, the name of the user, and then the directory you want to go to. But in Mac is applications like this. Okay, so for this I'm going to do something different, but you don't have to understand command line. We have a free course for command line that runs for 6 weeks and starts in September. You're advised to enroll for that course because to become a software engineer you need to actually understand command line, and it's going to be heavily used in every application development. So I want to create a file on my desktop, and I'll call this file or folder, I'm going to call this folder, let's say practice. Now in this practice folder we have nothing. If I create a file in this practice folder, that file is going to be in the root of the application or the root of the folder. When you start creating apps, you will have a folder, and that folder is going to be your application folder. That folder will hold different other subdirectories or subfolders that has other files. Sometimes we group related files together, and you'll see that as we go into different programming languages if you enroll for courses that deal with programming language and when we build apps. Now we have nothing here. I want to use the command line to interact with this as a demonstration. So I open my terminal and I want to navigate to my desktop. First of all, you need to know the directory. When we talk about directory structure, you need to know where it is. Now, where I will find my desktop on this particular user that I'm logged into is to change directory, and I'm going to find this in the users folder. In that users folder, there's another directory called school, and then in that school folder, my desktop exists. Okay, so this is how we reference file when we want to get a file. I want to go to this directory called desktop, and this desktop directory is in another subdirectory, which is in another subdirectory, and this is in another root directory. So I'm at the root of my system, and I have a directory or a folder called users. In that users folder there is a school folder. In that school folder there is a desktop, and so I'm on the desktop now. So if I list, I'll find my practice folder that I just created, which is the only folder that I have on the desktop. Now, if I want to create a file in this desktop, I can just, let's use a command touch, and then I'll create a file. Let's say I want to create a text file. Now, you have to take note of file extensions. When you have a PDF file, you always see .pdf at the end of the file name. If you have a Microsoft Word document, you will see .docs at the end of the file name. Same thing with Excel. And if you have images, if you have, for instance, a PNG image, you see .png. If it's a JPEG image, you see .jpeg, and things like that. File extensions are very important when you start designing systems. Same thing with the programming languages. If you have an HTML file, the extension is .html. If you have a Python file, the extension is .py. You need to understand file extensions. So now that we know the extension of the file we're trying to create is a text file, and text is .txt, I want to create a file called example.txt. You must specify the extension. Now, if I did this on my desktop, not in the practice folder. And so when I list now, I'll see I have practice and I need to have a file. For me to create that file in the practice folder, I have to go into the practice folder by changing directory to practice, and then I will now create that file again in that practice folder. And you see that we are in that practice folder and the file exists. But what if I want to create a subdirectory, which is another folder in the practice folder? I'll create another directory by saying make directory command like this, and then the name for the directory. So let's say I want to name this directory assignments, for instance. Now we have an assignments folder that you can see appear in the practice folder. Now if I list, I will find my assignment example.txt. If you are asked to list the files at the root of your folder or at the root of your application, practice is the file. At the root is the first files you see once you open the folder. Both files and folders, any directory or anything you see once you open the folder is at the root of the application. Alright, so for this application we have example.txt and assignments which reside in the roots of the practice folder. When we open the assignments folder, this is not the root. Any file we find within the assignment folder is not the root of the application. And how do we go there? So we'll just change directory to assignments. Okay, and now we're in the assignments folder. Let's say we want to make or create a file, and let's call this file assignments1.txt, for instance. We have the assignment .txt file created here. We said assignment.txt is the file name, and let's say we have another file, touch assignment2.txt. Sorry, I'll delete this. So let's remove, and I will recreate it. So I'll create again. Now we have assignment2.txt file created. Now, when we talk about parent directory, we mean the folder that the assignment2.txt file reside in. The parent directory for this is the assignment folder. So in the root of the assignment folder, we have assignment.txt and assignment2.txt. The parent folder for assignment2.txt is the assignment folder. If we go back one directory, we are in the practice folder. Now, when we come to the command line and we want to go back one directory, what do? We're in the assignments directory, and we know that there's an assignment, and in the assignment we have assignments and assignment2.txt files. Now we want to go back once. When you want to go back once on the command line, you use 2 dots and a /, and then you enter, and permission denied. So we want to use change directory, 2 dots and a /. Alright, cd change directory. Every time you change directory, you need to do that, and you see that we are now in the practice directory. If you want to come out of the practice directory back to your desktop, cd 2 dots and a /. Alright, but let's say we go into the assignment directory back, and we want to, the directory name is assignments with an S. So we go back into the assignments directory, and we want to go from the assignment directory to the desktop. Now, from the assignment directory, we come out once to practice, and to get to the desktop, you have to come out of the practice directory. That means you have to go out twice. And how do we do this on the command line? Use change directory, 2 dots and a /, which means go out once, 2 dots and a /, which means go out twice. And when we enter, we are back at our desktop. Alright, so you change directory and the name of the directory you want to change to get into a directory, and if you want to come out of it, if you want to come out one folder, 2 dots and a /. If you want to come out 2 folders, there are subdirectories, 2 dots and a /. Now this is important because when you create your web pages, you need to reference files, and in file referencing, you need to be able to specify the location or the path of the file that you want to open when a link is clicked. And we use this directory structure, or understanding of directory structure helps you to do this.